Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo, AJ, Jesse coming at you live on an Avs off day. We're going to get into the Eastern Conference preview, which kicks off tonight. But before we do that, some news of the day. Obviously, the Avs having morning skate, practice, whatever you want to call it today.
Yeah, is there a difference between a practice and a morning skate if the practice happens in the morning?
So I've referred to the practice today as morning skate 3 times for this exact reason, because it's
anything before
what's
noon.
The difference?
Yeah. Today was optional. I guess that's a difference.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but as I told you the other day on Twitter, isn't everything in life optional?
Technically, yes.
Outside of death, like
Right. Jesus.
which at times can be optional.
Which, depending on where science takes us,
Yeah,
optional.
true.
Look, I didn't ask to be born into this world either.
Okay, well,
All right. Hey, that's
everything else after that,
yeah. I was gonna say everything else after that super morbid take is optional, I suppose.
you play a role in the outcome.
Yeah.
True enough. Look, obviously the big
Not
news-
everything is a God-given opportunity.
Wow. Some things are optional. It's true.
Never letting this go.
Big news of the day for the Avs, obviously being an update on Darcy Kuemper's eye.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's
Still in there.
Yep. He
Yeah.
hasn't lost it.
So, Coach said this morning, because credit to Peter Baugh, he kind of asked him in a pretty. Everyone else, people were trying to like dance around it, and Peter just like straight up asked him. He's like, "Is this the eye? And has he been dealing with this leading up to this point?" You and I talked on the phone. I think that was last night. I don't know.
It was like 1 a.m.
Yeah. Where honestly, I didn't think Darcy was bad in the St. Louis series, but it's no secret that he struggled and fought through it the longer that series went on. Absolutely. And so, like, if the eye was bothering him before, that would make a little bit more sense. And Coach basically, he said, I'm not going to get into the specifics of his injury, especially at this time of year. And, like, not to read too much into, like, essentially no comment.
Yeah.
But that answer did just seem to hint or wink a little bit at, yeah, this
Also, if he'd been fine, he would have said he's been fine.
Right. And that was
Always
more
a
of what
dead
it is.
giveaway when you don't want to talk about it. It's not because you're like, well, I'm not moving either direction. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, if the guy was good, he would have been like, he's good.
Right. And
You
then
do it all the time.
And then he was asked later, okay, you don't have to go back beyond this game, but was it bothering him before he actually came out of the game? Because Frankie alluded to that last night in his postgame, that I had a couple shifts to get mentally prepared. And Bednar did say that, yes, Darcy skated over to the bench at one point and said, hey, paraphrasing here, having some problems. Things are getting kind of blurry. And that was when they told Pavel, start getting dressed, start getting ready. He's probably coming out of the game. Coach did not rule out Darcy for tomorrow. Said he's a possibility.
The game is afoot because
Right.
Jay Woodcroft did not rule out either one of his goalies playing
Right,
tomorrow.
right. And I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a pessimistic take, but like if he's possible for tomorrow, to me, I actually think that's kind of worse, because that says we don't really know what's happening with this. It's blurry some days, it's blurry
Right.
not.
Yeah.
It's not blurry others.
It feels like the way that you talk about concussions.
Right.
In that you just don't know day
Yeah.
to day. You're just like, well, we don't really know how he's doing.
Well, and again, like,
We don't know how much this is affecting him. We don't really know what to do about any of this.
reading between the lines again of what he said of like, I'm not going to get into the injury. Like, what that maybe tells me is that on game days or in games, no, it hasn't been a problem. But I would be willing to bet at a couple practices over the last few weeks has been like, man, this is kind of, I feel like I'm getting, a little blurry, getting some fuzzies or, whatever the little
Floaters,
floaters. Thank you. Little swimming guys in your eyes. So I don't know. It seemed a little too good to be true that he got away so unscathed.
From getting stabbed in the eye.
Stabbed in the eye, yeah. But, We'll see. I thought Frankie was fine.
Yeah.
Last night, and I think if you got to get through another game with him, I think you're comfortable enough. I think we talked about this, that it's never good to have to put in your backup goalie, but like it does help a little bit that he hasn't been 6 weeks since playing a game. You know, he played 2 playoff games
In round 1.
semi-recently.
Won you 2 playoff games.
Right, yeah.
True.
Yeah, seriously. So, you know,
He's 3-0 in these playoffs.
So you know, it helps that he's gotten in some games, again, somewhat recently, and that's where you got to roll. That's why you pay a backup.
Yep.
True enough.
That's why you invest in that position on some level and
Right.
not just be like, yeah, sure.
Well, and so 32 Thoughts came out this morning, and Friedman said that Elliot Friedman said he sent a couple texts last night when Francouz came in, and he made the comment. He said, one, I know the Avalanche are very high on him internally. They're very high on Pavel Francouz. Yeah. And then he did make the comment that a couple of the GMs that he had reached out to said that there were more than a handful of teams that were hoping Francouz got to UFA, because there were a lot of teams that were interested in him.
We had talked about this.
Yeah, right.
That there would be
Someone
teams out
would
there,
give him a
Buffalo,
low-tier starter job,
whatever.
yeah.
Teams that were looking for a guy to maybe have an opportunity. You
be
know,
a
now
one
now
A,
a guy that you're looking at, it's like Ville Husso's market.
Yep.
But Frankie would have absolutely been part of that. It's why when they re-signed him to the deal that they did, first of all, glad Joe listens to the show. Second of all, just it was such a good, solid deal. And like Frankie is a guy that people think that Rudo and I like hate Frankie. Because we're just not convinced that he's like a
true starter.
Yeah, like a legit higher end starter or whatever. But I'm comfortable with him coming into the postseason. It gets harder.
For sure.
But
I mean, I do think part of it is the opponent they're playing here, right? You feel like against Edmonton, you know what? You're just going to have to outscore that team regardless of who's in net. So you don't worry about it as much. Yeah, you still need a quality performance out of Frankie. You're still going to need some saves. He gave him saves at the end of the third period.
The thing is that Markstrom was so awful that you saw in the first round when Quick had good games.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
When there was quality goaltending on the other end, what happened?
And look,
Great
you
point.
take it. You take it where you can get it, but also the Avs kind of proved they can score with them just fine.
Well, and that was, I think, if there was one thing that we had to take away from that fiasco last night on either side, it's that the Avalanche are not the Calgary Flames and they're not the LA Kings.
Right.
That when it comes to, if you're going to get into a wild-ass shootout that's going to go punch for punch, Colorado Avalanche can play that. Mm-hmm. This Avalanche team can get up and down the ice with anybody, and on any given shift, some wild shit can happen from those guys.
Yeah. Well, it's even a style that teams have like actively tried to avoid playing the Avs in. Of we can't open this up, we can't let the speed start shining through. And Edmonton, we were talking about this a little bit right before you got here. That look, I know Edmonton in their post game said, "Oh, we have to be better. We need to be better defensively." But I think there were 2 teams last night, and I think one of them was happy with the way that the game went relatively, with the way that it was played, and the other one was upset with the way the game was played. I think the team that was upset with the way the game was played won.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Edmonton, you're sitting there and saying...
They're satisfied with the victory, but that's it.
Right. Well, they're satisfied they're up
night,
1-0.
Edmonton has a string of moral victories that they're falling back on today where they're like... You could also see how it manifested in its fan base, where they were having the same conversations of like, "Are you kidding me? Everything went their way. They get a free goal from the NHL and then a power play goal off of the penalty from it, and they get this and they get that, and we still almost pulled that thing out."
Right.
And
So,
you're like,
I have
sure, turn yourself into that pretzel, my guy.
I have a couple things I want to talk about. Can we officially get back into last night? I know you guys did obviously the whole post-game show. But I want to start with the first of all, is it offside or offsides?
I think it's offside.
It is. offside in Europe. Both are technically correct in U.S. English.
This is just us being illiterate and saying, it's our spin.
Yeah. So let's start with the offside play.
It's like, is it the Stanley Cup final or the Stanley Cup finals?
I think it's officially finals this year.
And who the fuck cares?
Right. But
if this is a thing that's sitting here, like, just take it down a notch, my man.
But what is funny about that is I actually think the NHL officially changed it to finals because it has been final. But I agree with you. Not the point.
Yes, it's offside. There you go.
This is what it should be.
It's RSBI.
Offside. So I'll be honest. In real time, I was surprised that they even allowed the play to carry on.
Go watch the watch along.
Yeah.
As soon as McCarr hadn't even scored, and I'm like, that's offside.
Yeah. It looked offside, and then the angles they showed in the arena, I was fairly confident it was coming back.
So were we.
Yeah, and the only thing that we were like, well, this could be the
we're trying to
application of the
talk
tag-up
ourselves
rule.
into it. Like maybe
Right.
he wasn't touching it.
Did you guys say that on the watch?
Yeah,
Really?
we were like,
So-
hey, this could be tag up, and then it ends up being tag up, and you're like, all right, well,
So I was impressed with the NHL because of how quickly they got an explanation out. That's normally way after the game, if not the next day.
or it's like an hour goes by. They made that call, and they were like, put that on the website.
Put
now.
that out immediately.
The Avs were involved in this game, so they had their weird offside rules ready to go.
Yeah.
That's right.
And even when you saw a couple of those angles from the normal broadcast side, it still looked offside. But as soon as you started seeing them from the reverse angle, or even the camera that's like on the boards below the goal line,
Yeah.
you saw clearly he wasn't touching it.
When you saw that reverse angle
Yeah,
along the
so-
blue line and he's not touching it, you're like, oh, I can see.
Like,
I can totally. And again, this
I get
isn't.
this.
The one problem I have here is there's also a ton of gray area in this rule book when it comes to possession.
What is possession?
Yeah.
Well,
This is like in 2014 when Paul Stastny's skate was above the blue
right,
line.
right.
And we and Colorado and Minnesota fans spent 3 days litigating what the word "of" meant, and now it's like we're back into that zone where you're like, well, what is possession?
Yeah.
And now it's become like this nebulous concept that because like I think last night was an accurate application of the standard that they have previously set.
And
I
that
agree
is
with
where
that.
I was
Because
going with this whole
I agree with
conversation.
That's where they had examples ready to roll
Yep.
out of like, we've done this before. This is the call that we've made. This is how we feel.
And-
this is viewed. But you can also absolutely make the argument that this is a spirit versus letter thing where you're like, that motherfucker has possession.
Yeah.
Don't tell me he doesn't have possession just 'cause he's not touching it.
Even then, though, if you're doing spirit versus letter, Val Nichushkin has zero effect on the play.
And
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a great point.
This is where offside as a rule has always like hurt my heart, because I don't know what to do about that aspect of it. Where you're
Yeah.
like, the guy's trying to get onside,
Right.
he's trying to get back. The goal gets scored a second later. He has no impact on any aspect of this,
Right.
Other than was he there in time for him
Right.
to be allowed to cross the blue line?
Well, and I mean, how much should we talk about that being on the other side of it for the Landeskog thing, where it's like the guy's replacement has already stepped on the ice. Are you upholding again letter versus spirit?
Yeah.
But
that was a little different because
For sure.
the NHL was like, the NHL for purposes of too many men does not treat him as on the
Right,
ice
right,
anymore.
right.
But for purposes of that conversation,
Right.
treated him like he was still part of the play.
Right.
And you were like, which one is it?
right,
And so that's the one that will always be a call that goes down as weird because of that aspect of it.
Exactly.
But in this case, that call has precedent. That call, not just with the Jonathan Taves thing that we saw a few years ago.
So that's where
but
I was going
with
next.
Patrice Bergeron as well.
Yep.
There are multiple examples of this application of the rule. And so when you start to see those,
Yep.
because even when they made the call and they explained it, I'm like, God, that feels bad.
It
But then
does.
they start to show the different ways that they've made this exact call in the past.
Yep.
And I'm like, look, it might feel bad, but this is at least. We always say, hey, at least could we get
least
some
it's consistent, yeah.
Can we get consistency? And this was at least consistent within their own history of the application of this exact rule.
Dude, so you mentioned the Jonathan Taves one against the Avs. I don't remember what year that was. But
it was a long time ago because Jonathan Taves was still relevant.
As soon as I saw that as one of the examples, that whole play came flooding back to me. I remember that, and I even remember, I may have even been talking to you, but I remember thinking, okay, fine, they've set the precedent then. If you don't touch it before your guy touches up, then you're fine.
Yep.
And now this tonight, or last night, I think was like the 7th example of they had set that precedent.
Yeah.
And they've stuck to it. And so you give the league credit. All we ever ask for is consistency.
Yeah.
And you can at least say they have a track record of saying this type of play.
And that's one where the video coach on the other side needs to know what he's challenging.
Right.
Yep.
And because to be honest with you, that is a huge mistake on their part.
Yeah.
To then turn around and give them the power play at the start of the next period.
Yep.
That is a huge mistake.
And
Yeah.
we talked about this the other night too, but credit on both Cale Makar and then the following power play. What didn't the Avs do against St. Louis in a lot of these games? They didn't finish their chances. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about this offside if Makar doesn't bury that.
Right.
No one's upset about the extra power play if Kadri doesn't finish a goal on it.
It's true.
Yeah. No, it's great. That's a great point. Well, and so last thing on the offsides for me.
Yeah, nobody remembers last night if Makar rims that thing wide. And
right.
It goes out of the
It's
zone
a nothing play.
whatever.
Well, and everyone's going,
2-2.
well, I thought that was probably offside anyway, so it's probably a good thing he didn't score. The linesman, the only thing that was really kind of making me think that it was going to stand when it went to review, the linesman had dropped to one knee right on the blue line and made a emphatic onside call in real time.
That dude, well played, sir.
Well, like
that guy is walking around maximum BDE today. Like he's
he's just maxed out.
He's like, dude, like that, like huge call.
But credit
got
to
it
him,
right?
Yeah.
because he
got it right.
And
Like,
I laughed because there were people, Edmonton media last night on Twitter saying, I know Oilers fans are upset, but like, hey, look, Oilers got the benefit of the kicking interpretation in their elimination game. And I was just laughing because, and again, like it's Twitter and this is not exclusive to Oilers fans. They're like, well, I don't get it. He clearly kicked the puck just like this one was clearly offside. It's like everything that favors the Oilers is clear,
the
plain
same way
as day.
that Nazem Kadri clearly meant to hurt Jordan
right.
to exactly one fan base.
So two things. You know all those like compilations on YouTube where it's like big brain knowing the rules moments? Are you allowed to put a linesman in one of those compilations?
Yeah.
And two,
Dude, he nailed that call.
So and this is
nailed that
another
call.
this is another one where I just wish they had availability. I just wish we could get availability with officials.
like dab that guy up, be like,
Well,
homie, crushed that.
who's your eye doctor? Because
Yeah.
I need to go see that
No
shit. They got your
kidding,
prescription
man.
dialed in. Dialed in.
two, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Megan. Do you think Makar did that on purpose?
No.
Okay.
Based on his
Thank
answer
you.
after the game, no. Now,
He never would have admitted that, though.
if
he never would have been like, yeah,
if there's
I knew the
any
rule.
player on the ice who you could convince me did have the wherewithal to make that play, it would be Cale Makar, so I could see why people would say that.
I think people said that because they wanted it to be.
Right. But like I said, if there's any guy on both teams who you could be like, if there's anyone that has the hockey IQ to do it, like it's him. But I think he held up for Nuke to try to get onside, but I think he was like, close enough, I'll just go for it.
Yeah, and you're talking about a quarter of a second.
Right.
Like,
If that.
of him making that decision.
Yeah.
And every second that he holds up is a second the defense has to close in on
Right,
him. And
right.
so he's got to balance that. And I just think it worked out. for
I
Colorado.
do too. And
They got lucky that it ended up going the way that it did. But also, Cale Makar made a great play. And
Yeah, great read.
Oilers fans are upset that the league did not take a goal off the board.
yeah, seriously. And again, like I think there are calls that are open to interpretation. That was one last night. By the way that the rule is written, I think was the correct call. And yeah, you make a great point. It led to so much controversy that everyone forgot. It was a great read to pick off that pass.
Yeah.
And then, holy shit, what a shot.
Yeah, the shot is great. The read isn't even hard. He'd been doing it all first period. He kept baiting them into it, and they did it. Yep. They just kept falling for it.
Yeah.
And then after that goal, somebody had a conversation because the Oilers stopped doing that
on his side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was literally the third time in the first period that Cale had backed off of that guy.
And then jumped
Just
the pass.
fully
And then
baited him into it.
waited for that pass and then jumped into it and saw it coming, baited it, and then jumped into it, took the puck away.
Yeah.
And then that makes them pay for it with the ultimate momentum swing of, well, it was fun being tied for 9 seconds.
I want to talk about Josh Manson a bit too, because that was
not a good night.
That was a tough one for him.
Not a good night.
That's like the disaster. Like, oh my God, dude. That's your team wins 9-4 Brett Lebda game and he goes -4.
Yeah.
Like Josh Manson had a Brett Lebda game.
Yeah, and I felt for him as just as a player, as the individual, because you could see it that he was battling through it, and he knew he was battling through it. And you could just see the frustration. Like, again, he wasn't making good plays. I don't feel bad for him in that front. But, like, anybody that's played sports, not even played sports, you've sat there in front of your computer and, like, I just don't have the words tonight. You know what I mean? Like, everyone goes through that in whatever.
Anybody that's ever had a job.
right. Yeah, I was going to say.
Ever.
At that start of sports.
Has shown up to work one day and been like, I don't got it today.
Fuck even showing up to work. Like, dude, just working around your house. Like, I had a moment last week where, like, we had 3 different things. We're like, all right, well, we're going to work on this side. We're going to get this set up. And, like, you didn't have the right screws.
You've been washing that pan for 15 minutes and it's still dirty.
Right,
man.
and it's just like, and so it's like, okay, I'll put this pan away, and you grab the next one, the same thing happens. It's just like, okay, I'm done doing dishes for tonight.
It was like when I was in Winnipeg, the first day that Z and I we got out of snow apocalypse.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we need to go run all these errands and do all these things. We got like half of the errands done. It had been like pulling teeth to get everything finished.
Yep.
And then when we got back, we were taking all the stuff out of the car. The bag breaks. The drinks go all over the street.
This is exactly it.
I biff it in the snow and face plant in the snowbank on the street, separate from everything else. And like, we couldn't get from the car to the door cleanly.
Right.
Because it was just one of those days.
Yeah, it was just one of those days. And that to me was what Josh Manson was going through last night on the ice, where it was just, he made mistakes. And then he has the one go right off his stick and centers the puck perfectly. And it's like, that is one of the things where for the first time all night, you were in the right spot.
Yeah,
you made the right play, and it goes off your stick in the wrong way, and it lands on someone's stick, Derek Ryan's stick, in front of the net. Yeah. He just couldn't do anything right.
Zach Cassian's greatest centering pass of his career.
Right.
And as it careens off of things.
Yeah, and that one, it was tough because Manson, I think, is going to need to play a big role in this series in terms of shutting down some of that offense. I thought he was fantastic against St. Louis.
It's hard to argue that he wasn't.
Yeah, and
he was such a big part of that series.
He was so solid, especially after losing Girard. He really propped up the middle of that defense. I just wanted to acknowledge that because people were rightfully upset with the way he played last night. But
and it's like, you can't pull that guy out of the lineup.
No,
you do not live.
Don't even.
You don't live in a planet where that's a realistic option.
Right.
It's been too good for you.
As
if you want to pull Jack Johnson out,
right?
That's a different.
And that's with Jack Johnson in the lineup. You need Manson to hold up the middle of that.
Right.
Because Jack Johnson, the expectations are the floor. You get whatever you get out of the guy, and you just live with it.
He overachieved for a bunch of the season, and you hope to get that, but you're not expecting
the one effect that Jack Johnson did have part of worse.
Yep.
If you look at his isolated
You're talking
numbers,
about last night or this season?
No, this season. Jack Johnson, and when you look at, okay, well, how did Josh Manson series? How did he do with various partners? How did he do with Jack Johnson last night? And it's not Jack Johnson's fault that Josh Manson had a bad night.
Right.
But when you're talking about, okay, you're trying to find a partner You're trying to find a fit next to Josh Manson that elevates him, that allows, but gives you a Ryan Murray sitting there. I think it just becomes more obvious where you're like, look, Jack Johnson played like 70 games for you this year.
Yeah.
And having him be first in line out of respect or comfort with him in the lineup, fine.
I liked him for parts of the regular season.
And in the postseason, his first game is fine.
Yeah.
And then the games after that, you're looking at and you're like, okay, well,
you're surviving.
Game 6, he makes against St. Louis, he makes a huge mistake that gives up a free goal the other way.
Yeah.
Last night, Manson makes the really killer mistake, but
bad pitch.
It's absolutely torched there
to help him, and it's bad on bad, and you're wondering, is it better, especially against an Oilers team that just is not physically punishing?
Yeah.
On the whole, is it better fit to have Murray in that spot? I think the answer remains yes. And I understand the reticence to put Murray in. He hasn't played in a while. Even when he did play last, while it was the best we saw of him, it was like 6 games or something.
Average, Well, and so
he's just so fragile.
Ryan Murray took warm-ups yesterday before the game. I would be surprised if we didn't see Ryan Murray tomorrow. And again, like I don't want to pile on Jack Johnson here because I think you're right. Like I think he earned the right to be first off the bench to get the first look.
When you play 70, like I think it was like 70 games for them this year, like right in that range.
Look, man, if you're talking about any non-superstar player besides Jack Johnson in the lineup, if they go 2 games with critical mistakes in the playoffs, that dude's sitting. They've already sat Andre Burakovsky in these playoffs.
And Alex Newhook.
Yeah.
In favor of Nicholas Aube-Kubel.
And I thought Aube-Kubel has been very good in this postseason, and he's sitting in the press box. Just kind of adding to your point of like...
Yeah, right. And if you're not living up to the standard, you sit. Like... If your name's not...
That's the point of being happy with the depth that you have going into the postseason. And, it's tested in a way you didn't want because if Sam Girard is in that lineup still,
you're just better.
You're absolutely in love with that group of 6. The way that Erik Johnson has been...
Dude, he's been fantastic.
So goddamn good in the postseason.
Phenomenal so
Genuinely
far.
All of the frustrations of the regular season, they're all gone.
Well, dude, so I want
He has been so good next to Bowen Byram where you're like...
I want to pause for 1 second.
What is this?
Everyone thinks that I have a problem with Jack Johnson, the person.
It's just not true.
I've had a problem with Jack Johnson, the play.
You mean Erik Johnson?
Erik Johnson, like the play on the ice.
He's mentally rotating Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't mentally rotate these Johnsons in real time.
I got you.
Like, EJ he's the longest tenured Av. He loves being in Colorado. He did the same thing that Landy did a couple years ago. I don't want to be dealt. I want to be part of the solution. I do not have any problem with Erik Johnson, the individual. It's been the fact that I never felt like he lived up to what he needed to be. He has been outstanding in this postseason.
Yeah.
He's been outstanding. And I asked him about it, I think in St. Louis. I said, what is clicking for you? What has changed? Like, you look like a different player. And he said, look, I'm getting near the end of my career. I'm aware of where I'm at.
He's sandbagging it.
Well, he was like, you don't get many kicks at this. And I don't know if I'll ever get another like this.
Keep in mind, he was hurt their last 2 playoff runs.
Right. And so he was like, I'm just not, I can't waste this.
Empty the tank.
I seriously, the way he's playing right now raises serious questions for me about his future and how much he's going to keep playing, how much he wants to keep playing. I think this is like every bit of hockey I have left in me, I'm fucking leaving out there on this playoff.
The way that he's playing right now, if he was a pending free agent, Dallas would be lining up to get him a 4-year deal. You're 34 and you're coming off of a great postseason and you have bad knees.
Come on down.
And considerable injury problems.
Please, sir, can we please give you a 3 to 4 year deal?
Radulov just signed in the KHL, so they've got the money to win. Radulov.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, repeat that?
Radulov signed in the KHL.
Wow, he's gone already, man. He didn't waste any time.
Someone put out a tweet a few weeks ago that you were positive was going to, and it just didn't. Mine is Radulov.
Everybody thought he was coming to Colorado.
I think it would have worked just fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. They might not have been able to handle each other. They might have ground each other.
Looks like looking pretty good for them right now. We are brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get it. Is a whole different vibe when the Avs drop 8 goals on a hockey team. So don't miss out on the action. That's all I'm saying. BreckBrew.com. They also have dope merch. Everyone loves their hats. I still get people asking me where you can find their hats. It's BreckBrew.com. Go over there. Go get some dope merch. Also, check out our merch, by the way. We restocked all of the Av shirts except for the Naz shirt because you guys had your chance with that one.
We told you and told you and told you and told you that was limited edition.
Everything else, though, in stock right now. Go get it while you can. We're also brought to you by Vodka TV.
Worth getting into the LOC shirt.
Yeah.
How good has he been again in the postseason?
I'll let you finish your read.
No, go ahead. I'll finish it after this conversation.
I was just talking this morning about how fun he has been to watch. Just because he's like, if you're a hockey nerd, he's hockey porn right now. The dude he skates his ass off on
that fourth
every play. Andrew Cogliano's been great.
How many times from like February onward were we like, look, they're going to put Logan O'Connor back to the fourth line and he's going to start doing the same things he was doing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happened this playoffs.
All that time he wasted on the third line and stuff where you're just like, dude, he just doesn't belong there.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and he's a clear-cut NHLer, bona fide,
for sure,
full-time
no
NHLer.
Doubt about it.
But
no doubt about this.
He's just another weird tweener, where it's like he can moonlight against second and third lines in spot duty.
Yeah, for a game or two.
Right,
yeah.
because he's skilled enough and he's a good enough skater. But like when he's just another great example of someone who is just cast perfectly on this team.
Yeah.
Where he's
great style fit, great development, like great identifying of who you are as an organization.
Yep, and
going out and getting a guy that fits that.
And then the effort level that he brings just ties it all together. You know, the one thing that you can't force anybody to do, his effort is just there on every shift.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he just puts himself in position to let the skill that he does have come through. And that's where you see some of his shortcomings sometimes, breakaways and stuff. But
stop going to that backhand.
Yeah, but he earns those breakaways with the effort and with just his like relentlessness on the puck.
Yeah.
And there were 2 shifts in particular last night where that fourth line, like you could even see it on the Oilers players' faces that when they finally did get the puck out of the zone into the bench, they were just, they'd get to the bench and they were like, holy shit, like
we just got torched.
I made every read that I'm coached to make in terms of breakout passes, and there were 3 guys in each lane and 2 guys hanging off of me, and they had 4 guys back somehow. It was a Bugs Bunny cartoon on multiple fourth line shifts last night, and Logan O'Connor is at the heart of all that. He's been so fun to watch in these postseason.
Wow.
Yeah, just for reference, Logan O'Connor last night finished with an expected goals for of 89%.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
For a fourth line.
And I would also like to point out, I know you've got the Ivaka read.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Get you 2 on a show and it's over.
But I would also like to point out that when we talk about coaching adjustments and the coaching battle of things, Craig Berube screwed that up. Because when he went to 12-6, Colorado's fourth line started
it struggled a bit.
Devouring St. Louis's fourth line. Devouring them. And it's continued so far in this series where their advantage in the 11-7 is that they could get one of their other forwards, one of their better forwards.
You're kind of mixing and matching.
Exactly. They could mix and match the 2 extra forwards into line combinations that were advantageous for them, and those took advantage of Colorado's fourth line. And then he goes to 12-6, and Colorado's fourth line is like, oh, we have a fourth line versus fourth line matchup.
Yeah.
And they ate Grady. And that continued last night, where you see them as strictly as a fourth line. They're not going to moonlight as a third or anything like that. But as a fourth line, as an energy component, as a play with the puck in the right zone. Pretty good group there.
Yeah.
Pretty good group there.
Well, I don't know if you can watch Bugs Bunny on Avaca TV, but you can certainly watch the Avalanche, the Rockies, the Nuggets, the Broncos, the Mammoth. Pretty much all Colorado major sports you can watch with Avaca TV. They have all the local sports channels. They also have national channels, so you can watch the big games and things like that too. All of football, whatever you're looking for there. Go to avaca.tv/DNVR. Let them know we sent you over there. Use the DNVR code. The first 3 months is just $15 a month. Super cheap for a television service. And it's only $25 a month after the deal, so it's really not that expensive. Compared to like your other options to get altitude locally, just not that expensive. So go check out avaca.tv today. Again, it's avaca.tv/DNVR to let them know we sent you over there. Semi-related, I saw NESN, NESN.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a second.
Just decided to set up their own streaming service. $30 a month. It had been an option that we'd talked about for a long time with altitude.
And it turns out that just saying it's not viable wasn't a great selling point.
Yeah.
So here's can we take a couple minutes on this? Because I think this is interesting.
I really genuinely feel bad for anybody that tuned in for an Eastern Conference final.
We'll get there. I promise
Yeah,
we'll get there.
But, yes.
Yeah, we've got time.
Do what you got to do.
Well, and it's NESN. That's East Coast.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because it's $30 a month.
Yep. Really not that much.
Not that much, but here's where you do have to start asking the question, right? It's $30 a month, and it includes Red Sox and Bruins.
That's it.
$30 a month for Red Sox and Bruins.
No Celtics.
No Celtics.
No need for the Patriots.
Yeah, no Patriots.
Not locally broadcast
Yeah, those are all
Right.
national anyway, yeah.
So,
wow. NFL, way to go.
so the question becomes, and by the way, this is a service that is only available if you are within the broadcast region of NESN.
Yeah.
Because
Blackouts still
the
apply.
leagues still own the blackout rights. So I asked the question on Twitter today, would you be willing to pay $30, which I'll be honest is cheaper than I thought a streaming service like that would be.
I thought it was going to be more like 65.
Me too.
I would pay 30 in a heartbeat, man.
30 for
abs and nuggets.
8 months
whatever.
worth of 8 months of content per year at most 2 games a day.
In a heartbeat would pay 30 for it.
So I just find it interesting because I totally understand why people don't like cable and the model and how much you have to pay. Mm-hmm. I get it. Cable, say whatever you want, they at least can justify their prices by look how much content we give you access to. Whether you choose to watch all of it or whether you like all of it, that is up to you. We give you access to all of this content. Regular streaming services, Netflix, even Netflix considered to be one of the most expensive streaming services. Look at all the content they give you for that price. Whether you watch it all or not, you have access to a lot of content.
It's true.
It's
an endless amount, man.
This is double the base price for HBO Max and Netflix, which are the two most expensive streaming services available. Mm-hmm. And you get access to 2 teams, and they play, baseball's 5 months a year? Hockey's 8 if you go into the playoffs. $30 is that's steep for what you actually get access to.
I just don't think it's that steep. I think a lot of people are like me, and they're paying 60, 70, 80, maybe more dollars a month for a cable package or whatever. And all I use it for is to watch hockey.
Right. Well, but is it actually, and for you, the answer may be yes. But is that actually all you use it for?
Yeah. And to be fair, I also use it for national games and other teams' games and things like that. But
and so this is the thing. So now it's $30 to watch Avs and Nuggets, and you don't get shit for national broadcasts.
Here's the thing. I know how to get those broadcasts anyway.
Sure.
You could also legally, between ESPN Plus,
Yes, right.
Right.
you're going to get
A good chunk of those games.
I don't want to say all of them, obviously, but you're going to be able to get to most of those games anyway.
So it's just interesting because, to be honest, KSE is maybe more well equipped in terms of assets to build a streaming platform than almost any other ownership group. Maybe Fenway Sports. Now they have several teams.
Yes, network and stuff too, but
But like if you're Kroenke, you have Avs, Nuggets, Rapids, Mammoth, Outlaws, but then you also have LA Rams, you have Arsenal.
Well, the Rams they can't do anything about.
I guess that's true.
And
Great
I
point.
don't think Arsenal, because of the NBC Premier League deal.
there's more national stuff.
I'm not
going
sure.
on there.
I'm not sure.
Are they all national, kind of like the NFL?
I don't know what the details
They
of
are?
that
Okay.
is, but
Well,
I would think that that's not going to fly. Yeah, it's the NBC Premier League deal is gigantic.
Where it's all
package, yeah.
okay. But it's just interesting because this is the first RSN to do this, and I think they're going to kind of be the guinea pig. And look, like it's not getting any cheaper than $30. I think anything else that you see is going to be more expensive, and it's just interesting because it's $30, and then you have to get into, okay, do you want to do YouTube TV? Do you want to do ESPN Plus? And it's just this is the battle. I get people don't like cable, but this is the battle regional sports networks are up against with cable. If you go to Comcast, they can get you, in most
8
markets,
million channels.
The games you need, plus 8 million channels, plus all the national, and they give you a discount on your internet and all this. And this is why this is the first product of its kind. There is an uphill battle for these streaming services at this price point.
The one thing I will say, though, I think you're right, especially with Kroenke. Even without Arsenal or the Rams or whatever, you can throw the Mammoth on there. You
Yep.
can throw the Rapids on there. We've talked about this before. I cannot believe they don't have some kind of deal in place with the Colorado Eagles.
Right.
You get a streaming service like that, you absolutely find a way to put them on there.
Well, and even if you can't do the games,
Unfathomable that the Eagles are not.
it's
like AHL TV only, which AHL TV has become such a quality deal in itself that
such a great deal.
if you're serious about watching the Eagles, you can.
right.
Very,
but
very
it's
easily.
crazy that you have to be serious about watching the Eagles. Like there is no reason why Avs fans in the metro area shouldn't have been watching the Eagles playoff run just because of the way the ownership's set up.
Love the guys at Altitude, not knocking them. I don't need to watch another episode of Golf at Altitude. You can put the Eagles on.
Well, so that's where I was going. Like, if KSE did a streaming platform, you now have a platform to do all that stuff. You can do your own like Hard Knocks for the Rams every year that doesn't dip into the NFL stuff. You can do all that extra content with those teams and
get college teams on there, honestly.
right, like,
And all that.
and so I think this is the direction we're going, but it's just going to be really interesting to see how this first one goes. Because I agree, it's cheaper than I thought it was going to be, but I still think when it comes right down to a consumer hitting subscribe, I think there's a lot of people who are going to give pause to
Yeah, they're going to recoil
$30 a month.
$29.99,
Right.
because all of their part of the streaming. Oh, it's $8 a month
Right.
for Disney Plus. Well, $8? Are you kidding me? I don't even notice that.
Right.
And then of course it's death by 1,000 paper cuts for all of us. 13 of these things.
Right.
And a $30 one is going to be like a deeper cut every month.
Right. But the reason that the market, that people are allowed to death by paper cuts in that market is because those marketing teams understand everyone will sign up for $7.99 and not even think about the fact they have 10 $7.99 subscriptions.
Yeah.
All they see is $7.99 on our site.
Well, and then if you make it remotely difficult to cancel, you're just like, fuck it. I might use it next month.
Right. And
Me with the GeoGuessr subscription right there.
Dude, it's like if you make it so that I have to call somebody or I have to send a support ticket to cancel.
if I have to wait for an email back.
I am a customer for life because I am not doing those things.
Yeah. So
Can't buy ramen, but I can watch whatever.
yeah,
ramen
but I can.
streaming service.
I can watch how ramen's made on one of my 10 streaming services. So it's just going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see a domino fall because either way, we're going to get an answer to this. We're going to get an answer to this question, how viable it is.
It's been inevitable, knowing that the push and pull between cord cutters and traditional cable, it's going to come to a head.
Yep.
For sure.
Where this is either going to work and cord cutters are just going to be empowered, or it's not, and cable reflexes on the market.
And they're going to say, welcome back. We told you.
Well, the thing is...
And it's going to suck for everyone.
Right now, it sucks for everyone, right? This year was incredibly awkward. We know firsthand.
Well, it sucks for everyone
some
in
games
Denver.
Sure, but some games are randomly only on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that's true.
While there are still games going on nationally and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's a game that's not on ESPN the channel, but it's on ESPN Plus, and you're stuck in the middle right now where neither thing is really all the way in on
Where
it.
the only thing you feel comfortable about is sailing the high seas.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing you're getting the game.
Well, now the issue is because now you have Apple TV trying to buy all these like national games too, so then you're gonna have to subscribe to Apple TV for like multiple.
Well, and then
Right.
here's my other issue. None of the TNT stuff is streaming anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you said, except if you're wanting to back channel it, which that's for all the people that I'm sure there's even been people in chat, like, we know. Everyone knows that you can.
It's always an option. It's always going to be an option.
Right.
Anyone who wants to use that option is going to, but there's millions of sports fans that don't or won't use that option.
Like,
And I've always been a person, if I have the means, I try and support
Absolutely.
the things that I care
Right.
about.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
could I absolutely continue to live the high seas life? Absolutely. When I was poor, it was a necessity. It was survival.
right. Well, no, but
Now that I have the means, I would love an excuse to support something like this.
Right. And as an example, I'm a massive Bo Burnham fan.
Yeah,
he did
your
that.
Twitter meltdown
you
the other
were
day.
having a time with his
I'm
outtakes.
still like, my heartbeat is still a little elevated. But
just haven't missed the preview, promise.
so
Got it started yet.
so last year he put out, the big special, and he released a bunch of stuff on an album. And I had a bunch of people, because I like tweeted out, like, I just bought the album. They're like, you could have gotten that for free. I'm like, yeah, I know, but the guy put it out free for me to consume.
Like,
the least I can do is support.
Like, thank you. I understand that.
Right.
It's no different than people giving us super chats, right?
Right. It's like, yeah, you can consume this for free, but it's like an appreciation thing. So you're right. Like,
Show love.
right. And being on this side of it.
The first of every month I get my Patreon receipt.
Yeah.
And you know how many of those creators I follow on a daily basis?
Zero.
Yeah.
Shout out the dude who's still giving me money on Patreon.
But I still support those people on Patreon every month because I want to support them.
It's hard work.
It's all love, man.
Yeah. So no, it's going to be fascinating. Let's talk about this Eastern Conference final.
So, first of all, we were brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Go over there. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new
Send
account.
me a new mission alert.
Get them right now.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I didn't look at it, but I got one.
You can get missions. You make certain bets, you get rewards with DraftKings. So go over there right now with a new account. If you bet $5 on the NBA Finals, you don't even have to be correct. You just have to bet $5, and you get $150 in free bets to do missions with or otherwise. Apparently, bet on Ukraine over Scotland. Is that?
Dude, that missed header. What a choke.
Yeah, that was rough. Go to
the guy-
DraftKings.
that guy
Bet on
knows.
whatever you want. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Dave Jackson from the top ropes here. Initial tweet: don't confuse possession with control. Possession is the last player to have the puck. That's how it's legal to check a player immediately after he releases the puck without being called for interference. And there's a couple of people disagreeing.
Yeah.
It says, I can possess a watch that's not on my wrist. I'm in control of it, but I'm not in control of it because I left it at home. It's in your possession,
Yeah.
but I'm not currently controlling it. Great analogy.
I wonder how that works for demon movies. Possession versus control.
Are you possessing her or
Well,
are you
so-
controlling
so-
her?
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is it right here. That is it right here. think back to like
we got there, boys.
Paranormal Activity. She's possessed the entire time, but the demon's only in control there at the end when he makes her kill her husband.
Well, spoiler alert, but yeah.
There's like
Bro, the movie came out in like 2009.
I'm just kidding, guys. It's fine.
I mean, you can't see it now, but yeah.
Also, there are 4 endings to that movie.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
We're about to be in possession on all of our pre-games of sexy pizza.
I'm so excited for this. I don't have to get here and order a grilled cheese anymore.
But wait, hold on. Are you going to be in possession of it, or are you going to be in control of it?
We're going to be in possession of it.
What I'm not going to be in control of is myself when we are
That
in
pizza is
possession
controlling you.
of that pizza.
Either way, Sexy Pizza's back with us. They're delivering us pizzas for pregame. You can get 15% off with Sexy Pizza when you use code DNVRAVS when you order. So jump on it. Go get yourself some Sexy Pizza. AJ and I are actually going to get to try it proper instead of the 2-day-old version. That was still delicious, by the way.
Good, man.
But we're going to get some warm ones delivered for pregame. So looking forward to that. Okay. We've done a whole podcast. Let's do an Eastern Conference Finals breakdown. Tampa Bay and the New York Rangers make it into the conference finals. Tampa's been sitting around for a while.
Perfect graphic for this series.
Yep. 2 goaltenders right there.
Made by a Rangers fan.
It was. He knows the score.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
Let's start with the Rangers because they had to go through another Game 7 to clinch. Game 7s in both of their round 1 and 2 series. If you bring it up, it was Pittsburgh in round 1, and then obviously Carolina, they just finished out in round 2. So Rangers have not done this the easy way, but they did get it done.
Now, I will say, there's been a lot of people that have talked about the Avs getting backup goaltenders in their first 2 rounds. Ville Husso, I think you can kind of argue.
I'm miss me with that bullshit. He played 40 games, and he's a major reason why the Blues had the season that they did.
Right.
So miss me with it. It's insane recency bias to be like, Jordan Bennington was clearly the thing is, net for the Blues.
I'm sure where Jesse is going with this, even if you think Ville Husso's the backup, the Rangers got Louis Domingue.
Yeah. Louis Domingue and multiple games of, what's it, Kochkov?
We're going to call him Coochie.
Coochie, yeah. So it's like...
we're going with that.
Sure, the Avs got the goaltender that the St. Louis Blues actively chose to start at the beginning of the postseason, but suddenly he's this terrible backup that Blues fans like, oh, well, we have no hope, even though the wagon was hitched to him at the start of the playoffs.
Also,
whatever.
Like, Nashville, give me a break.
Well, right. I was gonna say I don't think it would have made that big of a difference. But you know, so this is going to be a huge, huge test for the Rangers. I give the Rangers full credit. I have doubted them at every step this entire season.
The thing, it's not even just the goaltenders, but it's also those teams. They had to